the dividing lines are between those that are paid MAGA influencers and those who are on the side of Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Baron Coleman, me, and others. You get the idea. And I noticed that Ian Carroll and Ben Shapiro had themselves a little bit of a tiff online. I thought that this was important because he ended up saying some shit, which again should not come as any surprise because this is who Lil Ben is and what he does. And here's ultimately what came to pass in this conversation. Israeli, and again, if you're starting directly from where Ben commented, if you scroll down slightly, Colin. There you go. He's the R word, but he also has a mustache and delivered pizza for a living until he learned how to monetize idiocy on X. Now I just don't know what to think. Now, there's one thing that we know for certain about little Ben is that he's not only is he a Zionist genocidal nut job, but he's also somebody who clearly is a classist, as is the case with pretty much all affluent Zionist scumbags. They determine what a person's worth is because in the case of Ian Carroll, he was delivering pizzas. So that means he should be made fun of for having a job. Maybe not a job that is something that little Ben has ever had to do in his silver spoon spoiled ass bitch life. But a lot of people have to do things like deliver pizza for a living. And I got to tell you, if you're a grinder and you work hard and you do your job, you can make some decent money delivering pizzas. But in the eyes of little Ben, that's not what he thinks about. He thinks about it's not classy enough. You have to be a classy worker. If you remember, little Ben Shapiro made this commentary not too long ago.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up. But the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that. The history of
No, you just like to create your own history, little Ben, and you just constantly can't help yourself. You have such contempt for people that are smarter than you, stronger than you, more vitalic than you. You're walking around with a little hat and probably a little pecker. The look on your face screams somebody who truly hates himself as much as he hates the rest of the world. But because he's been convinced that he's chosen, he is able to get away with what he's been able to get away with. In my opinion, he's not entitled to get away with anything anymore. Every time I see him and I am reminded of how bad he is for pretty much everything we do, it is a reminder that if you think you hate him enough, you don't hate little Ben Shapiro enough. You just don't. He should be getting punched in his mouth like this all day, every day.
You think you're better than me, Paul? You think you're hanging there all day, you're higher than me, you're better than me? Yeah, well, I gotta miss you. You're not. I'm a father. I can think that you are not better than me at all. Yeah, I'll teach you.
And I'll tell you, he's the type of person who literally, if he wasn't getting wedgies or getting his butt kicked, he should have been. And if he didn't, it shows because he's never had his ass properly kicked.
America is you go to a place where there is opportunity. And if the opportunities are limited here and they're not changing, then you really should try to think about other places where you have better opportunity.
Maybe. You might be right. And I say, Ben talks like this because this is how elitist chosen people think. This is how they choose to think. This is how they choose to talk. And now you have Ian Carroll saying, which again, I think Ian Carroll does good work. I think he tries to get as much of the important information out there, especially regarding the assassination. I think he's decent. Israeli Gremlin thinks Americans that work normal jobs are all brain-dead idiots. Not surprising, really. Also worth noting, the entire time I drove Uber Eats as a side gig, my main job was a wilderness ultra-marathon guide where I guided runners on multi-day 100-plus mile mountain runs. But Ben's just recycling the Israel crowd's talking points because spreading Hasbara is his job. Yes, spreading Hasbara is his job. And I got to tell you, Ian, if your time was fully consumed with driving for Uber Eats, there's nothing to be ashamed of with that either. Having a job is something that everyone needs and should be proud of. It shouldn't be, well, I'm driving this. You should be able, if your job is a necessity, then you should be treated as such. Need delivery drivers for Uber Eats? Yeah, people need food delivered. You're providing a service. You should be paid accordingly. But like I said, in the eyes of little Ben Shapiro, it's not about whether or not you have a job. Thank you. I like it a lot. The keffiyeh is definitely giving me some more style. I think I might actually look better. Maybe I'm right. We'll get to that in a minute. People who denigrate those that work for a living are truly detestable bootlickers of capitalism of the worst kind. They've probably never worked an honest day's work they've never worked an honest day's labor in their life. And unfortunately, this is one of the biggest problems that I noticed when I was heading up here through Atlanta. For those that know anything about Atlanta and how the city is constructed and where the real money is, you have to go up into the northern suburbs, particularly in Buckhead, where I was last night. And when I was walking downtown in the commercial district, I noticed how many of the businesses that were there were all high-end retail and all different forms of high finance. Capital Partners this trust that. That's all you see. So much of our economy is based on no value creation. It's just, it's known as the managerial economy. It's known as the finance economy. But in terms of tangibles that we provide, that we create here in the States, oh no, that doesn't exist. So when somebody is actually doing manual labor as a job, I think that's extremely commendable. I've done plenty of manual labor jobs, and I don't think there's anything wrong with earning an honest buck. But apparently little Ben, as is the case of most Zionists, have a tendency to point the finger at those that they presume are beneath them, that they think are not worth being paid. I'll tell you, that's something that's going to change. That's something that we're going to change. So remember that. Remember the importance of not allowing these selfish elitist bastards to give you hell about the fact that you struggle to make money and they struggle not to spend it. Like I said, I don't even know if he would be good enough to do that. He's not that impressive. Thank you, Lisa. You're a doll. I appreciate that. And of course, little Ben probably hates his looks. That's why he can't really do anything but put shit on his pretend goatee and act like he's hit puberty at some point, those super large eyebrows. But anytime you hear him talk, it's like he's sucking out of a helium balloon. And it's too bad.